What's up YouTube, Dell here from Zephyr, and today I am bringing you an update to the Synchron profile that I did a couple of months ago that did not involve the adventure package. So I've been going back and forth with a very good conversation with Afna. Apologies if I've butchered your name on that one, I hope I got it correctly. But we were talking about a tech card that you could add into the deck, and going back and forth we've actually found different routes to make it really good in this deck, and it just gives you another dynamic which is really cool. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. We're going to start off with the tuners. So we're going to start off with our Synchrons being, of course, triple junk, double assault, double rev, and double stardust. Now obviously in the adventure package these ratios will change a bit, but because we're not relying on the adventure package at all in this engine, we kind of want to be a little bit more gas orientated, and being able to utilize your Synchrons from the deck is really important, which is why you're also only relying on one jet, and you also get to play the one wheel Synchron. For the remainder of the tuners, we are playing the one Hop Here Squadron, or I personally am. You can take this out completely. I just like the idea of being able to search this, and then being able to play around one of the big weaknesses of this deck is stuff like Dark Ruler No Mores and just droplets and board breakers and everything like that. So being able to still leave monsters on the board, drop a Hop Here Squadron and go into a Satellite Warrior, as you already would have burnt through a lot of your synchros, just gives you that ability to pop off and completely clear off an opponent's board as they're trying to build. The last tuner monster is of course the one Fire Ant Caster, followed up by the non-tuner that sets it all up in the form of a Caster Dawnwalker. Now obviously it's more important in this version that you have multiple discard outlets or multiple ways of being able to get cards to the graveyard. Now this does clash with one of the techs we have put in the deck, but the idea is that you want to be activating this first. Later on in the game it's not as effective, you're basically using this as early as possible. So you want to see it, you want to use it first, and then you will activate the tech card from that point on. Then of course you do have the one trail which comes off the back of the Stardust, and then triple junk converter basically acts as 6 copies of your route to your junk Synchron, but can also go into a Stardust as well. Then next up, of course, you do play triple Doppel Warrior. Now this is another card that clashes with the tech card, so it is a little bit touch and go, but the kind of idea behind this is you want to see it, you want to be able to perform your normal combo and go from there. More times than not, you want this card in the graveyard for your junk Synchron to bring back and then sync off it. You don't always want to be summoning it from the hand, which is why the clash isn't as big of an issue. And then of course we've got triple tuning, so of course this then counts as 3 additional versions of junk Synchron, and then because we are playing so many monsters, the idea is you want to mill one of your monsters that junk Synchron can bring back. Now onto the tech card. Now this is something that I'm trialing out, seeing how it works and how much it offers to the deck. I do like the ability because one thing you've got to remember is junk Synchron is an older card. So nowhere on the card does it say it's a hard once per turn. So if you're able to normal summon not once but twice a turn, it means you can go through junk Synchron twice a turn. So what card are we playing that allows you to facilitate that? Time Tearing Morganite. That is right. Now, yes, of course, for the rest of the duel, apply the following effects. You cannot activate monster effects in the hand. So that will now stop your Doppel Warrior and your Dawnwalker. But the idea is that you're going to be using them before you activate Time Tear. The only time you'd actually want to activate Time Tear early doors before you've activated those cards in hand is if you absolutely have to. The idea is that this is going to allow you to play junk Synchron twice a turn, which is absolutely insane. Not to mention the draw 2 cards instead of 1 from your normal draw phase allows you to regain more resource as you're trying, if your opponent does break your board. But it also allows you to conduct 2 normal summons or sets per turn, not just 1. You also have a very nice effect that you can banish this card from the graveyard and then discard one of another copy of itself. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects when you normal summon this turn, which again is really important because it means they cannot respond, apart from something like an imperm, annoyingly, to your junk Synchron. How do we facilitate all of this as well? Well, just skipping ahead a little bit, we are playing Forbidden Droplet. Now, the idea behind playing Forbidden Droplet is it gives you a main deck way of being able to go second and help you break boards. It allows you to set up your junk Synchron by putting monsters in the graveyard you might want there. It can also let you set up by sending a Time Tearing Morganite if you did open up 2 and you want to stop your opponent from activating effects when you normal summon. It's just a really kind of cool card from that point on. Like I said, there are cards that Time Tearing does stop. It stops you doing Stardust from the hand and everything else, but the idea is you want to be able to trigger these cards early doors, and then the rest of your Assault Synchron and your Rev Synchron, they're then going to be using their graveyard effects, or they're going to be using their when they're special summoned from the deck directly, so you don't really want to rely on their effects in hand. So if you wanted to, you could play a 1 and a 1, but there have been times when I open up an Assault Synchron, I open up a Rev Synchron, and I'm like, damn, I really want to get them to the board through my Junk's speeder play. I don't really want to be using them from the hand, especially if you're coming close to time as well. You want to be burning your opponent, not taking 700 yourself. But again, if you open them up, you can still use them to extend. You just do it all before you activate the Time Terran. So you do need to keep that in mind. To make space for the Time Terran, we have cut down Synchron Overtake to 2. You can play it back at 3 if you want to. But again, the idea is I actually want to normal summon my Junk Synchron. I don't want to rely on my Synchron Overtake anymore. And again, what that really gives you is it gives you that ability that you're trying to get to your Junk Synchron. You're trying to set up your Junk Synchron. Your tuning isn't a hard once per turn or anything like that. So if you're able to mill 2, yes, okay, a Junk Special Summoner level 2 bat, you only got 2 Synchro level 5s. But what you got to remember is the Synchro level 5s you're playing is Junk Speeder, which is insanely powerful for the deck, but then you also have Axel Synchron that can then adapt its level and count as an additional Foolish Burial for the deck as well. So you're basically using more of these cards to successfully get you into those. So rather like Adventure Package where you're trying to protect from certain hand traps, with this one you're like, okay, cool, I'll eat up a hand trap on the first one, but then I'm going to go again at the same turn, and even if that isn't successful, I'm allowed to draw 2 cards during the next turn, so I'm able to gain back a little bit more resource. For the one-offs, of course, 1 Call by the Grave, 1 Foolish Burial, Illumination, and of course Reinforcement of the Army. And because Morganite stops you using monster effects in the hand and not just card effects in the hand, you can play triple infinite impermanence. So it's not as if you're completely hand trapless. It does just give you a different option to go with. Of course, Imperm is pretty much a staple in most decks anyway, and I just really like what it can add to the deck. The Time Terran, like I said, is just a spicy tech that I haven't really seen a lot of people play. I can understand why, because on the face of it, and even myself was like this the first time, I was like, it just clashes with too much of the deck. Why would I want to use it? And then the more and more I looked into it, I was like, well, technically, if I wanted to replace an Assault Synchron and a Rev Synchron with a card that didn't activate in the hand, I can add back in Calicro and I can add back in Jester because they don't activate in the hand, they just summon. So you do have ways to kind of play around it if you want to, but I quite like the way that this is going at the moment, especially if you don't want to be playing the Adventure Package for any reason. It does still allow you to normal summon Junk, get stopped. You're like, okay, usually that would suck, but normal summon Junk, and then you activate Time Terran, normal summon Junk again, and do it all over again. So you do have more ways of doing it. And obviously, like I said, before you normal summon that Junk, you're ideally trying to activate a card like Tuning. You're trying to activate a card like Dustwalker. You're trying to activate cards like your Assault Synchron. Like, you're going to try and activate all of your hand effects first to build up your board and then go from there. So for the Synchros, of course, we've got the Junk Speeder, the TG Hyper Librarian, the Junk Warrior, and of course the Axel Synchron. All pretty straightforward on that one. Apologies, I did not do this in number order. Celestial Double Star Shaman, Cupid Pitch, and Herald of the Arclight. Pretty straightforward and simple on that one. And then of course we've got Charge Warrior for our 6. We've got Stardust Axel Dragon, and then of course Stardust Dragon for our 8s. Followed up by a Mega. And the only reason we've got a Mega here is because you should be winning once you're building off your pretty much end board of this. But if you're not, or you just want to secure it a little bit more, you can Omega your opponent twice, which is disgusting, but it is what it is. Obviously, Crystal Wing, pretty standard. Bestial Dispatcher, Satellite Warrior, and Baron. Now, you can very easily, if you wanted to, add in a Chaos Angel into this deck if you will. You can go back to any of the other Synchros as well. You can adapt the levels as you see fit. What you're basically utilising is you're trying to utilise the pure version of Junks, which is really, really kind of cool. And like I said, it just gives you a different angle, which I think is a little bit fun. And playing Time Terran is just something I've not seen anyone do, so I want to test it a little bit more. So that's pretty much it for the profile, just giving you a different dynamic to kind of trial out and see. If you're like, okay, I'm getting a bit bored of the Adventure Engine, let's try something else. And I definitely say that no one is going to expect a Time Terran Morganite. If you have access to Trill Tactics Thrust, you could very well activate Trill Tactics Thrust to get to a Time Terran, which means you don't need to play as many copies, and then it will give you more chance to try and play all of your hand effects first and then go into it. So that's kind of the sacrifice of playing Time Terran, is you're not playing many hand traps. But personally, I wasn't playing loads of hand traps in my Synchron build anyway, because I wanted to be as like gas as possible. I want to be able to keep playing through hand traps. I want to be able to keep building my boards, and I pretty much want to be able to go, here is my entire end board. It involves A, B, C, D, all the way through Z. If you break it, by all means you can win, but the only way you're going to break it is if you have these two very specific cards, or if you open up a chain of events that will lead you to that route. And if you don't, I will pretty much take the victory from that point on. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. Like I said, there's just something a little bit spicy, a little bit jazzed up, and a little bit different. For now, as absolutely always, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.